Hi, I'm Joseph Mintzlerich, Katy Christian Magazine. We just want to invite you to our next Chamber Breakfast meeting. Special speaker to be announced. So you're going to have to go to katychristianchamber.com, go to upcoming breakfast and register. We're the only Christian chamber of its kind in the greater Houston area. Our mission is to connect Christ and businesses, okay? And we need you there to accomplish that. So go to katychristianchamber.com or always put it on your recurring schedule the third Friday of each month. God bless. Hope to see you next month.
Thank you. All right, have fun.
I see Joe.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Lilykatec.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. For the beginning of this speech, I'm actually going to stand back here, control this, and then I'll head up there. But once we have that set up, I'm 19 years old. I'm a Texan. Well, first I'm an American. Actually, first I'm a Christian. Then I'm an American, and then I'm a Texan. All right, so we'll just get started. That's awesome. Well, everyone, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and a little bit about where I've come from and then where I'm headed. And hopefully in this process you'll glean a little bit of value, because we're also going to be talking about a little bit of social media tips for everyone here today for your businesses. So, I was born in Houston in 2002. I was a very chunky little child because I have a really tall dad. And we moved to Magnolia when I was 2 years old, and I grew up Christian, homeschooled, pro-life, pro-gun, conservative, in a big family. So pretty much everything that the left really hates right about now. And I have 5 siblings, and we spent our childhood playing outside, and our dad would read us books, and we just grew up with a really wholesome lifestyle that I would not trade for anything. And so when I was 15 years old, I started doing YouTube videos, and I'll get into a little bit more about how I started and why I started, but that grew to be really, really, really large with the name Lilykatec. And then at the other side, I had Lily Cole, who was the Texas Right to Life Oratory Champion 2019, a speech and debate national champion, and I grew up classically educated as well. So I have a lot of experience in a lot of different areas. So if you're asking yourself, why is a 19-year-old telling me how to live my life? Well, you'll see in a little bit, and I hope I can give some value to everyone here. So I started doing YouTube videos of wholesome fashion lifestyle videos when I was 15 years old, as I said. My little sister, Annie Rose, so she's the little girl with the brown hair, not the blonde one. We're still friends with her though. But Annie started doing YouTube videos, and when she was 9 years old, I saw that her YouTube channel was growing really quickly, and she was gaining followers, she was getting brand deals, she was making more money than probably half of the 20-year-olds that I knew. And I was like, that's pretty cool. So I decided to quit dance and start doing social media. So my sister and I did lots of sistering videos. We did lots of videos where we would go shopping, do room decor, and redo our room. It was really unproblematic, really wholesome content. And so from that, we got picked up by a lot of management companies. So management companies are companies that connect influencers with brands so that you can sponsor, and they represent you, and they get you tickets for lots of different events. So we were invited to events like VidCon or Playlist Live, and we were invited to be panelists and stuff. And at this time, I was like 16, 17 years old. And it was really, really fun. So we were back and forth between LA and Houston for a very, very long time. And we always wanted, and we talked about, oh, we could move here. This would be the most fantastic thing for our career, because we were constantly being told, well, you're not really going to be anything if you're not here in LA. So my sister and I felt this constant pull to move there. And so with that, I started doing so many more YouTube videos, started meeting a lot of people, and it became a really good, incredible career that I had a lot of passion toward. Okay, so in February 2019, I ended up meeting this guy. His name was Jaden Siwa. Okay. Jaden Siwa is an older brother to Jojo Siwa. Jojo Siwa is a former reality TV show star turned YouTuber turned global pop star by the age of 16. I think she has like somewhere around 50 million followers. She's insane. She's awesome.
She's on the cover of People in the grocery store right now.
Yes, because we'll talk about that in a little bit too. But I was doing a meet and greet, and I was standing next to her older brother. Now, I didn't know who he was at the time, but instantly him and I became really good friends. We hit it off. I quickly found out that he had Midwestern values, the same as myself. So we were glued to each other the whole entire week. So then, one time in Palm Springs, about the next May, after that February, we took a selfie together. And I posted it on my Instagram story. And one of his fan pages got the photo and was like, they're so cute together. So I came up with a really good idea. I went to him, Shark Tank style, and I said, I have an idea. So I said, Jaden, what if we made a team? What if we pretended to be in a relationship so that we could get cross-pollination between our followers? So he was like, I love it. We shook on it, and that began the fake relationship that I had throughout 2019 and going into 2020. And by this time, since I was really connected with this extremely powerful family, we had been interviewed for reality TV shows. There were so many things that him and I were going to do together. We would go into stadiums that were filled with 6,000 to 8,000 screaming little girls, have to be escorted in by security because of how famous his sister was. She's a pop star. And so all of this was happening, and I kind of liked him. He was a really good friend. So inevitably, throughout that year, he started to catch feelings, and I didn't. In fact, I actually started to catch feelings for a boy who I'd grown up next door to, who I've known for 19 years. Well, he just turned 18, so as long as I've known him, he's known me. And, I was living this dream as Lilykatec, the social media girl, doing unproblematic content, but there was something that was nagging at me, and I didn't know what it was, and I didn't know that something was nagging at me by the time that I was there, because I just wasn't fully content with where I was going. I knew that who I actually was this intellectual girl who loved ideas and who loved defending Christianity, and I loved talking about all the imperative things that Christians need to be doing and in the political realm and all that kind of stuff. But everybody knows that if you get political on social media, there's no going back. So through that, Lilykatec and Lily Cole began to fight for the spotlight. And when I say spotlight, I mean social media and who I was portraying myself to be on social media. So eventually, through COVID, I actually decided to break it off with Jaden. And I understood that since I didn't want to pursue a relationship with him and pursue one with my neighbor, who I'm still with today, that I was really giving up my ticket, if you will, the ticket to be in that LA world, to be successful, to be that young social media influencer who's connected with one of the most powerful families in Hollywood, someone who, would do lifestyle content but influence millions and millions of little girls with her lifestyle content. And that was really hard, because for the last 2.5-ish years, I had been working toward this goal, and I kept climbing and climbing and climbing because I wasn't content with where I was. It was always, what is the next thing? What are we gonna do? And my heart just decided to give it up. And of course my family were like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. So this is a time of real uncertainty in my life. Also because we couldn't even go to LA. I mean, all the airlines have gone woke and been shut down anyway. So this was a time that I had to really redefine exactly who I was and exactly who I wanted to be. And so eventually, after kind of getting out of this little rut in the spring of last year, trying to figure out exactly what I wanted to do, I totally recommitted my life to the Lord, because we were really lucky and our church actually only shut down for 2 weeks, and they have not done masking, and we're all cramped in there, and they're doing really well because of it. So I recommitted my life to the Lord and filled my days with listening to political content from the Daily Wire and podcasts and lots of Candace Owens, Stephen Crowder, all that kind of stuff, because I really just wanted to distract myself from the decision that I knew I had made. Because it was really hard. I didn't have that guarantee of you're going to be there at this age and it's going to be really awesome. So through that, Lily Cole who I grew up as started to get the spotlight and started to really be the person who was coming out on my social media. So also through that, I started a social media consulting company that I will talk about in a little bit, and I'd love to help anybody here with their social media. And then through that, I made the full transition from unproblematic content to very problematic content in the eyes of everybody who doesn't have a spine. So I started a political podcast called Live Freely, or well, it's been renamed The Lilykatec Show. I wrote a book and I opened a ministry called Live Freely that I do Bible studies with my fans from all over the US. We have some girls from Europe every single week, and the podcast I love it. I think I've really found exactly what I'm supposed to be doing because I am happier, more fulfilled, and yes, I'm starting a new business from the ground, but I understand that this is where I need to be. And so as I was transitioning all my social media throughout fall and winter to political content, I think I lost about 80,000 followers. I get death threats every single day. I have people in my DMs who are reporting my account. I've been banned on TikTok 3 times as of last week. I get hate comments. I get lots of people sending me videos, making videos about me, telling me how uneducated I am when they haven't even read the Constitution. And it's been difficult, but for some reason, it's been easy for me because I love it. I love the battle. I love the fight because I see that we're in a time that it's more imperative than ever to actually start standing up for our rights. Yeah. And someone young has to be the person who's gonna make young people listen. I mean, no offense to all the old politicians out there, but white hair is just not that relatable. And so with that, I want to talk about 2 different things today. So one, we're all business owners here, and we all need social media tips, and we all need a little bit of guidance on that. So I'm going to talk about my top social media tips for any business. And then 2, I want to talk about why Christians have to be politically involved. And I'm also going to show you exactly where our country is going to go if we don't stand up to the tyranny that's happening right about now. So Ms. Erica, if you would come do this while I go up there. Social media. Everyone needs social media. Everybody needs exposure, and everybody needs a way to be on social media and do a good job. But the social media, you have to fill the pipeline with something. And so what are you going to fill it with? Well, you're going to fill it with content. And everybody knows that. But the problem happens when you think to yourself, well, what am I going to put? What am I going to put on the internet? What's my content going to be? And so that's up to, for you and your brand to decide. However, what your content needs to have are 3 different prongs. It doesn't matter if it's a photo, if it's a video, if it's a long format video, if it's a podcast, if it's an ad, if it's a 15-second video. Doesn't matter. Each piece of content needs to have some kind of shock value. Okay? This is your dramatic opener. This is you saying, you should watch my video. You need to capture that attention in the first 1.5 seconds. Thanks to TikTok, our attention span has gone down to less than 2 seconds. So it's important that whatever that dramatic opener is, whatever that dramatic word is, that dramatic photo, you need to capture their attention really, really quickly. After that, you need to have a good structure for the story that you're telling. Whether this be in the caption, whether this be throughout the format of the video, whether this be with the visuals that you're putting up, it needs to have a beginning, middle, and end. It needs to have that transition. You need to bring them through and walk with them through whatever you're trying to say. And then after that, of course, as Christians, we know we can't clickbait people, meaning get them to click on the video by something dramatic happening, and then it's actually nothing. You made a big deal about nothing. That's why a lot of YouTubers do get in trouble. But you need to have that satisfactory end goal. And it needs to be something that is a payoff, that is wild information, that is really good value, really good advice. Maybe it's a really good discount. Maybe it's just purely entertaining content. You need to be able to provide that value to someone. So if you go to tip number 2, and if you would bring me up my iPad, that'd be great. Tip number 2, y'all get on TikTok. Okay, TikTok is a short format, thank you, video content platform that has recently been really growing. There's about like 2 billion users on TikTok, okay? There are so many people on that. And the cool thing about TikTok is that it's not YouTube, okay? YouTube, you can only really do well on YouTube if you put years of time into it and everything is always perfect. Your uploading time is the same minute that you posted last week. Your thumbnail is perfect. Your tags are perfect. Everything works together to please the YouTube algorithm. But with TikTok, the algorithm works in a way where it will connect your video by watching it, listening to it, and reading the words that you put on it to the correct audience. If you don't believe me that there is an audience for everything on TikTok, literally last night, my mom's birthday was this past week, and she really wanted a power tool. And my dad was like, well, I just don't know which one to go pick up. So my mom went on TikTok, went to this random dad's account, and his account is all based around what power painting tools work best with which pieces of wood. And he has tons of followers. So therefore, my dad showed up last night with a power tool, exactly the one that my mom wanted. See, there's literally a niche for everything on TikTok. And in TikTok, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have the right minute, the right time. It's all about authenticity. And that's what one of the strengths of marketing right now is. It's all about authenticity because that's all Gen Z really wants. Gen Z is 97 to 2012. So if you're trying to sell to that audience, of course, get on TikTok. There are lots of older people on TikTok too. So don't discredit that, even if your business is targeting older people. Trust me on that. Number 3 is always provide value, don't always ask. Okay, this is really important to understand on social media because 99% of people fail at this really badly. You must always provide value to the person who's viewing your content because the biggest mistake, specifically churches, what churches always do is I look on their social medias and they're like, oh, I only have 200 followers. And I'm like, okay, let's take a look on what you're posting. And the only thing they post is, hey, we're doing this event this week. Hey, look at this little piece of the sermon we had. Oh, hey, we have this event coming up. You should join us. Nobody cares. Nobody wants that. Everybody wants to be fulfilled in their own way. So with social media, I call this my 80-20 rule, is 80% of the content you put out has to be entertaining, it has to provide value, it has to give advice or give a discount, it has to be giving the viewer value, okay? And then the other 20%, if you do a good job at that 80%, that 20% is the ask. Say, okay, well, since I've given you so much value and we have a trustworthy relationship together in the social media world, now I'm gonna entice you to buy my product. You can't just ask and ask and ask because their brains will turn off and they're gonna unfollow you. You know, an account that really does well at this actually is the Netflix account on social media. They post memes and they're always responding to people in the comment section. And of course, we all know, what kind of content Netflix is promoting right now, but they do good at social media, they do really well. And so if you want some other accounts that are actually really good at engaging with people and engaging with their followers and always providing value, you can look at the Daily Wire. They post tons of engaging content that is always giving value to their viewers. As I said, Netflix, let's think of another one. Really any big corporation account, they understand this principle and this is how you're gonna break past the wall of not turning over all the people who are listening to your content. So if you go to the next one, number 4 is plan ahead. After doing social media for so long, my biggest tip is that you take either one day out of the week or 1 day or 1 or 2 days out of the month and you plan all of your content. You shoot all of your content. You edit it and then you schedule it out. The biggest reason why people fail at social media is that you get distracted with other things. It's pretty obvious. I mean, that happens to me all the time. And you forget that social media is there and you need consistency and you need to always be showing up. And so if you can plan your content, mass shoot, mass edit, all at once, then you only have to think about it 1 day out of the month. It really makes sense. So if you go to number 5, the way you can plan it out, everyone, you need to get the app buffer. If you're on social media, it will change your whole life. Okay? What this app does is you can schedule all of your content out. It connects immediately to all of your platforms, and you put your photos, you put your videos on it, you put your captions, you put your hashtags in, and it notifies you just when you need to post it, and you open your app, 3 clicks, and it's posted. So all it is it reminds you, and it keeps all the information that you've put into it and schedules it all out and pushes it out for you. So those are my top tips for social media. And then next slide, I am a social media consultant, and that's what I do professionally. So I can help you with branding guidance, social media idea, content generation, website construction / design, photo shoots, video editing, and just overall social media consulting and strategy. So if you want help with your social media, you can come talk to me after. But I will say, I work aggressively, and so don't bother coming over if you're not ready to just go for it and just do it. So I work really, really efficiently. Okay, next. This is the part that I really want to talk about, because we have very quickly been losing our freedom, okay? Doesn't take anybody too educated to see this, and it's an important thing that we need to be aware of what freedoms are going away and how quickly they are. We have been caving to the leftist ideology because they actually are the ones wielding any political power. For too long, Christian conservatives have been just terrified to use the power that they've been given, and now all of a sudden, all 3 branches of government aren't ours. I mean, statistically, that's never really happened, but now it has. And what are we going to do about it? So I see this as clearly as anyone who has been paying attention in the last little season of our lives. And we always say, oh, you don't have to do it for a while. We always say, oh, it's a slippery slope. Oh, we're just sliding on down a little bit. No, guys. The next 4 years, we are skydiving. Okay? We're going so fast. And you need to be aware of what's happening and how we can fight back. From abortion funding to almost a nationwide ban on any kind of firearm, the fight is literally here. So don't say, oh, it'll happen eventually. No. It's literally happening now. And so it has to come from the church. I mean, we're familiar with working with good and evil, because it's not a fight against left and right. Don't try and tell me. It's literally a fight between good and evil. And it has to come from the church, because we deal with hearts. It's not a policy issue. It's not a legislation issue. It's a culture issue. And what is culture driven from? Hearts, morals, standards. And we have those. We've always had those on our side. So why are we not trying to infiltrate the culture in a good way with those? And why are we being so passive? Just like Erica was saying earlier, we have just bent over. And as Christians, we know that we're not supposed to be just of the culture. We have to be in the culture. We're always so afraid, and we sit back and point fingers at everyone else for the degradation and the degeneration that's happening in our culture, whenever we really are the ones who are responsible for taking that by the reins and saying, no, this isn't right. I mean, the founding fathers are probably turning over in their graves right now, and they're going to try and make you think that they were just a bunch of bigoted, racist slave owners. No. These are fantastic men, and a lot of them couldn't actually afford to free their slaves. It was very expensive before 1965 or 1865. But we've been way too comfortable for too long. This past year, the government literally closed down our churches. It's that First Amendment right that they violated. And why did we bend over? Why did we say, oh, yeah, okay, no problem, I got you. Safety first, If you're sick, don't go to church. And if you're healthy, go to church. It's that simple. It's not hard to be courageous, because courage is contagious. And the first person that starts being courageous and saying, no, you constitutionally do not have the right to shut down my church. It's so unprecedented. The second we can stand up and actually say that is the second that you will be rewarded. I was telling you about my church earlier. Well, their attendance, it's a relatively small building, probably as big as this whole area. The attendance has gone up by 2,000 people People are hungry for the truth. We're hungry to stand up for this. We just need someone who's going to let us do it. And why can't it be us? Why can't it be this group today? Why can't it be the Christians here? And so you may not think we're in the fight, but half of the country is fighting every single day to preserve our individual rights. Okay, the reason why I say individual is because every time a new political ideology is born, it always starts with the individual rights, because political ideologies necessarily mean a form of government. And any form of government that gets bigger and more powerful is going to infringe on individual liberties, because they understand that the individual having the right to bear arms, having the right to free speech, having the right to assemble and do whatever they want is threatening to their power. And this is a principle that the Founding Fathers built America off of, limited government. And that's actually one of the conservative principles that we truly value today. So everybody's scared of this word, but fascism. Fascism is a form of government, an authoritarian oligarchy at the top, demanding that people do things. And so the left will try and make you think that we're fighting against fascism from the right, okay? Even when you look up the definition of fascism on Google, it will say a far-right ideology. But the thing you need to understand is that we're actually fighting against socialism. But socialism is a thing that requires you to have fascist means to get there. You can't get to socialism without being an authoritarian dictator, okay? You need someone at the top who's going to be whipping everybody else and telling them exactly what to do to redistribute the wealth and take away individual liberties. So that's really what we're fighting against. They want to infringe upon our rights. And we need to fight for our rights as citizens, because we're fighting a fascist means to reach the end goal of socialism. And we know that socialism is not moral, because theft is also not moral. It doesn't take very long to find that in the Bible. And so I want to also say this is why our Second Amendment is super important. Because the reason why the Founding Fathers wrote the Second Amendment into existence is because, what were they running from? A tyrannical government. And the only thing that keeps a government at bay is having the right to bear arms, having the right to defend yourself. Because the only thing worse than a gunfight between two people is when you show up that you don't have a gun. And so we need to fight for our Second Amendment rights more than ever now. And it's difficult as Christians because we get called all these terrible names, and guns can lead to violence and all this terrible stuff. And, you know, they'll try and make you think like America's the worst at mass shootings. No, we're only like 13th in the world. And that's like pretty low considering we have a very large population. And all the crime and all the violence is happening. Yes, but that's because in the areas that are full of crime, it's because they're defunding the police. But I won't get into all that. But we need our Second Amendment rights. That's important. And we need to be fighting for those first and foremost. Okay. So we're going to play a little game. I'm actually going to read you two definitions of two different ideologies / forms of government, and you don't have to know the answer, but one of them is present today, and one of them is something a little bit more dangerous. So definition 1, a political strategy focused on anti-big business, anti-bourgeoisie, anti-capitalist in rhetoric, and expressing the idea of, quote, a people's community, broad social welfare programs, a collective subordination of individual rights, which will be sacrificed for the good of the state on behalf of the people. Okay, that's definition 1. Definition 2 is the abolition of capitalism, the realization of socialism as a gradual and long-term goal. Therefore, the focus is on immediate political energies to reform within capitalism and empower working people by decreasing the power of corporations, self-described as socialist or labor-oriented. So what if I told you the first definition is the definition of a Nazi, and then the second definition is the definition of the Democratic Socialists of America? Right now we have people like AOC, Cori Bush, Jamal Bowman, Ilhan Omar, all in the federal House that all subscribe to this ideology, the second one. We're fighting, y'all. And if we don't want to end up in another world war, we're going to have to start fighting against this. So churches and Christians always shy away from politics because they're like, oh, I just don't want to step on people's toes, and I don't want to offend anybody, and oh my gosh, but politics is so dark and messy and sticky. And I always say, well, yeah, so is the church. What's your point? Because every time that a piece of legislation is made, it is a reflection of the morality that's happening in the culture. So we need to be fighting in the culture. Next slide. And it's not difficult to want to understand this. We have the Bible with us. We have a shield and a full suit of armor, so don't let it rust. We need to use our sword and shield, not hand them over, but we need to fight with them. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you've done everything, to stand. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith, in which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. The Bible is very clear. And Jesus says, I'm not coming here to create peace. I'm really coming here to shake things up, y'all. I'm bringing a sword. So, with that, it is imperative for Christians to be involved because, next slide, we were made for times such as this. This is our calling. This is how we're going to be the hope of the world, be that light in the local church like Jesus talks about in Revelation. We have no choice. And we have been passive for too long, but y'all, it's time to stand up, and we can rejoice in that because we know we have Jesus on our side. I mean, we have the most powerful being in the whole existence of everything, who literally lives inside of us, so why should we not wield that power and use it with grace? Use it with victory. That's good news. We have it. So, before anybody comes back next month, I have a list of things that I want you to do. They're not really that difficult. And they're not, impossible or super expensive to do, okay? But this is the way that we can actually start getting involved because we're not doing enough. And I know you say, oh, but I'm so busy, I really don't have time. Well, I think your Netflix show can wait. Okay? Next slide. And this is my last slide, but I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. I am always astounded at the amount of people my age who have not read our founding documents. The Constitution, the first 10 amendments, and then I'd add on 13, 14, 15, and 20 to those because those are really good for historical context. The Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence. You can read all of these in 2 hours. But you need to know your rights. You need to know as a Christian that you have the right to say no to the government. Because the governing law is the moral law, it's not the physical law. And we know our rights are protected in the Constitution. And it will give you not only just a better ground to stand on, but it'll also give you an appreciation for America, because America is awesome. There's no other nation in the world that would protect religion the same way that we do. So know your rights. Very, very, very important. Just like they were talking about the law firm that you can get connected with by having a membership here. Maybe you can pay someone else to know their rights. That's good. But you should know yours as well. You should take hold of that individual liberty. Next thing is go pray outside of a Planned Parenthood. There's one in Houston, which is actually the biggest one in the nation. There's one in Cyprus. There's tons of them in Dallas if you ever make it up there. There's tons of Planned Parenthoods everywhere. And since 1973, when Roe v. Wade was passed, there have been almost 65 million abortions in America. And like 45% of those are in minority neighborhoods. Well, actually 72% of Planned Parenthoods are actually in minority neighborhoods. So there's a big attack on everyone right now. So you need to go be praying outside of Planned Parenthood because we know the power of prayer. We know that God hears it and He will ultimately be in victory, but we need to go make our statement. So I work a lot with Miss Teresa over here, and we do lots of content of real women's abortion stories. And I'm gonna cry, but like the amount of people that say, if there had been someone standing outside of the abortion facility, I wouldn't have gone in. So go be that. Go be there. You could baby save a baby. Next, if you don't want to drive to a Planned Parenthood, Go volunteer at a pregnancy center. Does anybody know where the most local one to their house is? Have you donated to it? Have you given 2 hours of your Saturday afternoon to go clean toilets? We need to go be helping these people because they're on the front lines. They're taking in the women. They're dealing firsthand with these women who are a part of the moral degradation and the horrible things that are happening in our culture. So we need to be volunteering and giving our time to these places so we can help them run effectively. Or, if you don't want to do a pregnancy center, go help a pro-life organization, a conservative organization and a pro-life one. Because they're essentially doing the same thing, because we know the second you devalue life, all law and order falls away after that. And so we need to also donate to conservative organizations. Donate to ones that have tax reductions too. 501c3s, pretty good. Vote in every election. Obviously, everybody does this every 4 years, but it's not enough. It irks me when people are like, oh, done my part, I'll be back here in 4 years. No. You need to vote in every election, midterms, runoffs, local elections, because those are the ones that are going to affect you the most. And I know you've probably heard this 1,000 million times, but it's true. Getting mad and tweeting about Joe Biden isn't going to do anything, but calling up your state reps will. Okay, this is my favorite one. Go shoot a gun, women. The men probably are like, yeah. And then the ammo shortage is happening right now. Maybe wait till it's a little bit cheaper. But go learn the anatomy of a gun. Did you know that if you can hold a gun horizontally with a grip like that, it's legal? But the second you turn that and hold it vertically, it's illegal. Gun laws are crazy. So you need to know the anatomy of a gun and also know your gun laws. And then you need to also own a gun. There's some really, really cheap guns out there. So the Cobra Arms Freedom 380 is actually one of the cheapest guns. You need to have it in your car, have it in your purse if you want to get an open carry license, and be able to defend yourself. I promise you, I was literally terrified of guns last year. And then my boyfriend was like, we're going shooting. And I was like, okay. And after I shot one, I was like, shoot, this is really empowering. I don't want to be undefended when I'm out going about my day. So know how to shoot a gun, know the anatomy of a gun, know your state's gun laws. It's kind of, getting those two together and just own one. Then after that, you need to call your state reps and your senators and let them know what's going on, let them know how your community feels, and also ask them how you can help them. I call our state reps and senators, like a lot of them know me by name, because I'm always dialing in and saying, how is this bill doing? How is this bill doing? How can I help? And I mean, literally like 2 weeks ago, I was up in the Capitol testifying for a bill that's going to expand the definition of child abuse to include anything of transgenderism, babies transitioning, and people trying to get their children infused with hormone blockers, or affirming a child's gender when the parent doesn't know about it, one, with doctors or teachers, and then prescribing them something that they don't need, and the parent doesn't even know about. I mean, we're fighting against legitimate legal forms of child abuse now, y'all. And it's going to keep going down if we don't stop fighting. So, we need to be up with that. And then I urge you to tell your church to get involved in politics. And explain to your pastors why it's important. Okay, I'm on my last point. But I urge everyone to fight against the fascist form of government, which has the end goal of turning a free America into a socialist nation. Last slide. Because if you want your rights to worship, you're going to have to fight for the freedom to do so. Thanks.
Does anybody have a quick question to ask Lily about any of the categories she covered? She covered a lot. So if you have any questions.
Well, I do. I thought TikTok was bad. I thought that they find out all about us, if we use them.
Right. So TikTok originally is a Chinese company, and in, I think last summer in August, Trump said that you have like 40 days to buy the American operation. So we had a bidding war between Walmart, Oracle, which is a Silicon Valley company, and I think Microsoft. I don't know which one won out, but now the Americans own the American operations of TikTok. And also, the internet already knows everything about you. And, if you put in a different phone number, you put in a different email, you don't have to use your name. I mean, really all you're doing is posting content up there, so you don't have to feel obligated to share your whole personal information, your whole life. So TikTok has been bought, and we are in control of the American operations of that. But I would just say be fearless with that and don't put too much personal information on. Just use your discretion in that way.
Any other questions before we move on?
I'll ask one. What do you recommend for companies or individuals who want to engage in a marketing way but don't have the time to invest in visual content and like amazing photography, right? Or professionally made videos for something like a social media platform?
Yeah. Well, if you say you don't have the time, then you probably don't really want to do it. A ton of platforms are free. iMovie to edit videos is free. I learned how to edit myself, and it didn't take that long. You can, consume a lot of content, and look how easy it is to make it. I mean, you have probably an iPhone or a really good camera. I mean, the stuff that you have right now, you just need Wi-Fi, and you have everything that you need, because content is so easy to create. And you could just sit down in front of the camera and say, hey, I want to tell you guys this story, and then lead into a product review or a little marketing pitch. You can see, the cool thing about social media is that it used to be everything has to be professional and finished, but now we're going in a direction that's so practical and so authentic that, like, my videos do better when I'm probably not wearing makeup. Like, that's how authentic we want it to be. And so I'd say you do have the time for it if you really, really, really want it. And learning how to edit a video is very easy. I can also help you with that. It's super duper easy. Social media is mostly free. All it takes is the initial investment of learning how the platforms actually function, and then consuming content and saying, okay, what does well? And then after that, it's just, as I said, mass planning and doing it, knocking it out in one day.
Right.
And you will get better. You will self-correct. That's just inherent to Christians. We always self-correct, and we always try and get better. And so I just encourage you to just go for it, really. Don't be afraid.
All right. Thank you, Lily.
Thank you.
So we had some new members.